We should be debating how many sanctions we should place on Russia, or whether we should blow up the KGB or GSU, GRU.
The Pentagon war planners have rightfully said that 90% of modern warfare is informational. That's why it's more important than ever that all of you watching subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Real Alex Jones, because InfoWars is the front line of the fight. And without your help and support, we will fail. With your support and with your prayers, we will be victorious against the globalists together.
Meanwhile, we've got fake news. This is another article. It's on Infowars.com. Today's fake CNN news. Let's blow up Russia. We've got a clip from a longtime Clinton supporter. This is an article by Steve Watson on Infowars.com today. Paul Begala, he openly called for a discussion on bombing Russia. This would be funny if it wasn't so insane. I mean, we are living in Dr. Strangelove. And remember, it was Oliver Stone when he went to do this long-form interview with Vladimir Putin. I actually sat down and watched Dr. Strangelove with him. I guess it was an explanation of our current political environment, kind of a crash course for Vladimir Putin to understand the insanity of America. That's a dark comedy, but this is a dark reality that we're living in. Let's play some of that clip.
Patriotic American should subvert an election with a hostile foreign power. That is what Donald Trump Jr. agreed to do with Mr. Kushner and Mr. Manafort in the meeting. We were and are under attack by a hostile foreign power, and they seem to be abetting that hostile foreign power. We should be debating how many sanctions we should place on Russia, or whether we should blow up the KGB or GSU, GRU. We should be retaliating massively.
Unbelievable.
Because, by the way, if I were a Trump supporter, I would want to retaliate massively, because it has tainted his victory. But
there's Anderson Cooper. He's taking this seriously. They're not laughing at him. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Over the top. And I just reported earlier this week how CNN is winning all these awards for a documentary that they did in Syria, blaming everything that happened in Aleppo on the other side. Not on their people being ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And they got access to shoot this documentary, go where other journalists had been killed. They got access to get in there by working with an English propagandist for Al-Qaeda or for ISIS, however you want to brand it. I mean, you talk about CNN being ISIS, that is quite literally true. Absolutely insane what CNN is doing. Every day it gets more and more dangerous. You know, all this talk about ramping up war, and of course, this is something Democrats were doing well before the election, saying we're going to be looking at cyber attacks, and if we ascertain or believe that these cyber attacks are coming from Russia, we will take that as if that were a physical attack on us, and we will respond appropriately. In other words, we're going to bomb people if we think that we got a cyber attack from you. Well, who knows where these cyber attacks are coming from? That's not something you can easily ascertain. Anybody who is honest about this, anybody who knows what's going on, John McAfee talked about this well before we had the latest WikiLeaks of Vault 7 that showed that they have, and actually WikiLeaks was responsible, they did not leak out the code. What they leaked out were the PDF owner's manuals, if you will, the documentation on how these programs operate to show what their capability is, but not to give people the code to actually do it. And what we saw with that was that they had numerous ways that they could mask themselves, and we knew that was happening. Everybody that was responsible, we talked to William Binney, we talked to John McAfee, all these people said, look, all these people have the ability to disguise where they're coming from in a number of ways. They can reroute it, and as we learned with Vault 7, they can even make the keyboard strokes and so forth that people have gone back forensically to try to identify what country this comes from. They can make all of that look like they're coming from any country that they wish. And so when they say we're going to give ourselves the ability to, or say that we're going to physically start a war with Russia, if we ascertain that there was a cyber attack conducted against us by them, that what they're saying is we're going to give ourselves the ability to just come up with any excuse to start a war, to do a first strike. And that's a very dangerous thing. That's something that Democrats have been doing since before the election. It's one of the reasons why they got General Flynn out so quickly, because he was rational, he was honest, and they had to get him out, the military-industrial complex is. I want to take a look at the Emmy Awards because I think this is part of this continuum that we saw with Bill Clinton, with George W., that we saw with Obama's legal issues. And, of course, remember, it's not just the political establishment. It's not just the media, CNN, but the most important tool that they have is entertainment. Remember Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. The most effective weapon is ridicule, he said. And so we see Saturday Night Live. They love Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live got, I think it was 22 nominations. They tied Westworld for first place nominations. This was because they're coming after President Trump. And so when we look at the Emmys, we already know who the winner is. The winner is anybody who is anti-Trump. And you have to understand that the Emmys and the Oscars, they're not important. Even if you like the shows, they're not important. You have to understand this is something that's done by the community. This is like a high school election where the most popular people win the election. It has nothing to do with the quality of the shows. It has everything to do with whether or not they like you. Remember Sally Fields? They like me. You really like me. It's a popularity contest. She just won class president when she got that Oscar nomination. They know what it is. It's their own peers that nominate them. And, you know, if you're a conservative, you get shown the door. You're not only not going to get a nomination, you're not even going to get a job. You're going to get blacklisted. That's what they do to conservatives. But when we look at this, we've got the LA Times pointing it out. It was a big year for Saturday Night Live, 22 nominations, no doubt due to the show's nonstop lampooning of President Trump and his associates. Likewise, they said, Stephen Colbert returned to his political ways, made his way back to the race with The Late Show, and also Handmaid's Tale, because that's highly political. They tried to target that at Trump and conservatives, completely ignoring that everything that they have in The Handmaid's Tale is going on far worse in Saudi Arabia and countries under Sharia law. Their worst dystopian nightmare that they say would be brought about by Christians in office is going on in Sharia law. So it was Christians in office who gave us the First Amendment. It was Christians in office who gave us the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It was Christians who, after the Revolution, did not become dictators and tyrants. But if you want to see The Handmaid's Tale, and if you want to see something that is far worse than The Handmaid's Tale, then do a documentary on what's going on in Islamic countries. Because Islam is not a religion. It is a political system that is supported by a religion. The two are inextricable. The caliphate is a fulfillment of their religion. And if they don't have a worldwide caliphate, that is a disgrace to their religion. Meanwhile, when we come back, I'm going to talk about the Vatican getting involved in this, coming out of that truce with the Pope didn't last too long with Donald Trump. You know, they shook hands and met, but now the Vatican is coming out after Trump and after conservative Catholics and evangelical Christians. We'll be right back.
What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com.